personally, I think annual goal reviews are the biggest waste of time on the planet. I think they're stupid.
Next to SMART goals.
Ooh, that's a little bit of a that's controversial.
Let's throw down.
All right, let's get into that. Let's get into that right now. And I have to agree with you. So we know that SMART is your specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. We're not saying that those aspects are bad, right?
Right.
What about SMART goals doesn't work?
I think they're too cumbersome for most people, and it becomes just an activity that people do, right? And they try and make things up. And I will tell you, you said it's what? Realistic?
Yeah, the realistic. So yes.
Is it results?
It's realistic.
Right? There can be confusion as to what it is. And again, that's another thing that I struggle with in terms of what does it really mean? And again, it's not that I don't think those things are important, but I think when you're asking people to put something together, there's too much there. Now, here's what I developed that I use is what are called set goals. So just like SMART, there's the specific, which I think is really important. And just like at the end, there's the time-bound piece of this. But if you think about SMART, there's really not a place in there that talks about what's the why behind this? What's the emotional drive to make this happen? And again, I think that's the most important part to not setting the goal, but to the follow through on the goal. If you don't have a strong enough why, your excuse will be as to why it's not that important. And there is an activity that I will have individuals do to really try and drill down to what is the why? Why is this important to you? Because if we can get to that, the likelihood of executing on that is far greater.
Can I jump in here, Lorianne? Yeah. So I'm thinking about something. I was watching a recent documentary. I believe it's on Netflix. It's in regards to Elon Musk and some of the recent achievements and stuff that he's done. I think we're really fortunate to be alive during a time like this where we have some incredible innovators. But you look at someone like Elon Musk, and how can you not use what he's done as reference points to so many things, right? If I look at the SMART goal, and this is one of the things that's always bothered me about the SMART goal, and it's funny that you picked this letter, and that was realistic. What we would consider to be a realistic goal is only limited by our ability or inability to really understand what can be achieved. And if we are limiting ourselves to what we think is realistic, we're already going to be setting goals that do nothing for us to grow, right? As an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, I think many times you're forced to be in positions to do things that are not realistic. Everything about building these businesses doesn't make any sense. You're trying to accomplish things with limited budgets or resources. You're trying to build processes and systems, and you're doing all of this in a small time frame, and you're learning in the process. I'm going to go back to that story. If Elon Musk would have tried to set a realistic goal, then he would have done what NASA took 30 years to do. He did it in less than 10, and he did it at 1/9 the budget. Like 1/9 the budget. And think about this, in just a few years, did you ever think, I thought it was fake when I started seeing this. Did you ever think we would see a rocket launch and come back and land on an X? On an X, like it comes back. Nobody thought that wasn't even in the scope of realistic. For decades, we've been dumping these things in the water or in space. He got him to come back. And I think it's just insane if we really stop to think about it. And I think right now in the last decade, we've been inundated with so many incredible influencers and innovators and people out there just doing incredible stuff. And we're moving at such a rapid rate that I think we've become numb to the idea that we have to be in a place where we can push ourselves. And I like where we're going to go on this. In this goal setting, we're going to be pushing ourselves to find new boundaries, right? New lines. It's not about realistic. It's about how far can we go and how do we get there actually accomplishing these goals, actually achieving these goals, right? Not just saying, I'm going to set this up. And you're right. For years, I was part of corporations where you just did this as an exercise. It was a fun exercise. And literally, like, nobody, like, within weeks, like, it was it. You never talked about it again. You never had meetings. You never had follow-ups. And then somewhere it would be on a metrics. You said you would do this. I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay, when's the last time you reminded me about this, Mr. Manager?
Doesn't sound smart.
Yeah. That doesn't sound smart at all.
No. So, a couple things on that, Rigo. When you talk about, right, these stretch goals almost, there are a couple letters that, that I've played around with here, because I think there's a dance that goes on between expectation, right? That you set wildly important goals or audacious goals, however you want to put it, the stretch goals, but there has to be a belief. You have to feel the expectation that you're going to be able to achieve that. And that doesn't, some people might be there, oh God, here we go, the power of positive thinking, that you just think good thoughts and it happens. That's not it at all, because the expectation must be combined with discipline. And that's that you actually take action to make the expectation materialize. You have to do both.
So let's talk through that, because we can say that. Now, how do we move into actually, like you said, taking action to actually see these things materialize? How do we go? How do we do that? I'm a manager. I have a small team. I have a dozen folks I'm working with. Let's use this as here we go. I have a sales team. Okay. A handful of them are sales. I have inside sales, outside sales. I have some administrative folks, and we're all working together. So there's a dozen of us, and we have to all work together, and we need to all hit the same end goal as a department. How do I start working with a team like this to help them actually take action in these goals we're setting?
So think of it like 3 Ps, right? So the letter P. So if you think about this like a Venn diagram, to me, there are 3 components of this. One, there's the planning part. One, there's the practice part. And the third sort of sphere in this Venn diagram is the persistence part. That we need to have all of those. The planning part is what we talked about initially, is those set goals. How do we set the goals? That's our planning. That's where we get the foundation. But then it's on to the next part, and that's the practicing piece. And to me, that's the ongoing check-ins and making sure that we're doing the things that we set up in the planning section. And then, as I see it, as my role as a manager or somebody that's leading a group, I'm involved in the persistence part of that, almost to give them support and to cheer them on if that's what needs to be done, to make sure that, when things aren't going well, that as long as they're doing the things that we've talked about, that I'm encouraging them to keep moving forward.
Okay, so we've talked specific. So now in a set goal.
Yeah. So
let's get into E.
Yeah. So that's the emotional part. And for anybody that's familiar with root cause analysis, really that's the same approach that I use with this. So let's just use the example of losing weight. Let's just say that as the year comes, I said, I want to be healthier this year, right? Well, there's nothing specific about that. But if I said, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Okay, so now we've got that first part, right? It's much more specific in terms of what I want. So now I might go into, well, why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Well, I want to lose 10 pounds because I just don't feel as though I have a high energy level anymore. 10 pounds is weighing on me. Why do you want a higher energy level? Well, I want a higher energy level because my youngest son is in the 7th grade right now. He's starting to play football, and I want to be able to go out there and coach and be on the field with him. Well, why do you want to be able to coach on the field? Well, because as he's going into high school, I'm going to see him less and less, right? And I want to be able to build that time now. Okay, well, why do you want to build that time with him now? Well, because I know that if you look at some of the research out there, it says that by the time they turn 18, we've spent probably 90% of the time that we will spend with our children by the time they're 18. And I want to build a legacy now so that when he's an adult, we have a relationship together. So now if you think about that, right, this is not about 10 pounds anymore. This is about a legacy with my son, so that when I stroll into the kitchen and there's oranges and Oreos sitting on the counter, that I might think twice about having the Oreo when I know why am I really doing this?